The 1990s, a decade that has come and gone, passed down its trends, its attitude, its grit onto the further generations. Has it truly gone away to the wayside, or has it just morphed, evolved, grown to higher heights to which is yet to be fully discovered? Today, I would like to discuss with you a few of my favorite bands from over the last decade, that is the 1990s. There were many, many bands that hit the scene in those days, and there's far too many for me to list of that 1990s decade. I was one of those kids that grew up back in them days. So, we had all the fun and excitement that comes with Nintendos, Segas, Walkmans, CDs. We had DVDs by the end of it. We had tapes, VHS tapes, and cassettes. The 90s was full of things like Anne Frank folders and My Little Pony and Care Bears, Cabbage Patch Kids. The list can go on and on and on. Power Rangers, Pokemon, Digimon. We didn't know what these things were going to bring past that point. We just knew the lights, we knew the action, we knew the lore, we knew the fun, whether it was any particular sports team from the 90s, or maybe perhaps you had a favorite movie that you saw that gave you that just filled you full of excitement and hype and wonder of what the future would bring. Movies like Independence Day and Jurassic Park and The Mask, they gave us glimpses of a future that was possible. And for those of us that grew up in that decade, it gave us a strength and a yearning for things of that nature. Now, my first band that I would like to talk about is a band that had several big hits in its time. This band is a little known band named Offspring. They were the rebels of the group. The 90s was an era full of attitude and grit. People choosing to be themselves despite any changes that come the way. And Offspring, they gave us songs that they are wide and numerous. Come out and play. I want you bad. There's a lot of really strong, in your face kind of tones to it. I can't help but every time they come on the radio, they are one of those that I basically stop and focus on those songs alone. They truly, truly were a mark on its generation. Now there are some that I don't miss or haven't named, and it's not for any lack of skill on any other band of the time. These are just the five bands that really stand out, and no matter what song comes on the radio, more times than not, I'm going to listen. And unfortunately, or fortunately, there's many that will make this list that I just don't have the time to list. My second band will be Nirvana. And Smells Like Teen Spirit is clearly the main one that people will remember for decades to come. But they had more than that. You know, they were the band that without them the grunge era just would not have been as good or as full. Of course, you had bands like Bush that popped up, and they gave us Machine Head and Gasoline and things like that. But um, I would say if Nirvana wasn't there, uh, fill the void that was that genre, I don't think it would have actually been able to be a genre itself. I think they would just have labeled it, like the all the other alternative rock styles that was vibrant at the time. Now, I would be amiss if I did not throw in the two boy bands that well, they labeled and they marked the decade, and that is Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. There were a lot of other bands in that time that were trying to follow that same vibe, that same exact tone. But where those guys tried, these two, Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, they thrived because they chose to use their own sound, their own strengths, and they leaned in hard between the love songs of the decade, the ballads and the breakup songs and all that, to the just fun, we're going out and having a good time type songs. The decade was truly something to behold with those two bands in it. They set a lot of fashion styles. They set a lot of um, standards for how a lot of bands are approached that a lot of these newer bands may not have been able to do if these two didn't set the way. And the last one of my bands from the 90s would be Red Hot Chili Peppers. They are a band that had three distinct different sounds to their music that showed that they were willing to try and innovate and try to make their own version of these tones and sounds that other bands could not follow suit. They tried to follow the grunge uh, fad that was going on in the 90s, and they managed to pull off quite a bit. Then they tried to get happy and a little bit of that love song boy band charm, still in a rocking way, but you know, it turned out to be their own kind of thing. And then they started off and set the tone for the next decade, the 2000s, with their alternative style. They kind of blended the two love songs and the grunge together and made a completely new and unique style that would be closer to what people would call punk rock from the early 2000s. Um, to which those bands may not have had that sound if Red Hot Chili Peppers didn't pave that way. Now, that being said, the 90s was full of gems and classics from movies to music. The decade had much to offer. No matter the age group, the 90s gave us hope and an attitude that cannot be replicated. From the styles and scenes to the favorites and the all timers, this was a truly, truly strong decade to be alive. Today, you can't go without somebody talking about, oh, how great, the old school Dunkaroos was, or pizza night with Little Caesars or Pizza Hut, Blockbuster. You wouldn't have people talking about things like that without the decade was strong because they had all of these things. Any one thing to go missing would just not be as good. The cola wars between Pepsi and Coke, they were still going strong. Um, and that's just what you get from a decade full of people with hope in their eyes, ready to go and pursue something new.